What's up, guys? Welcome back to another review, and this time I'm going to be taking a look at Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, an animated DC movie. Overall thoughts, I really like Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox. The basic plot of this thing is the Flash goes back in time, saves his mother from being killed, and as a result of that, he changes the entire DC timeline. In this movie, in this timeline, Bruce Wayne is dead, and his father becomes Batman, and his mother is implied to be, and his mother becomes the Joker. Superman crashes to Earth, but is scooped up by the government, and the world has no knowledge of him. Hal Jordan never gets the Green Lantern ring. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are having a war that's tearing the world apart. All because Wonder Woman and Mira got into a fight, and Wonder Woman killed Mira, Aquaman's wife, and this is what starts a war between the Atlanteans and the Amazons. And all throughout this movie, the Flash is trying to fix his timeline, and he's trying to stop Professor Zoom, who is also in this universe, who is preventing the Flash from fixing up this timeline. So, yeah, this movie is juggling a lot of plot points, and for a lack of trying, the movie does a fairly solid job at doing so. Though, there's some things it brings up that I wish it would have covered. But again, this movie is trying to juggle a whole lot of things. But overall, I think the movie does a really good job of juggling at least the main plot point. It juggles the fact that Flash is in this new timeline, and he has to fix it. He has to get everything back on track to how it should be, because the longer Flash stays in Flashpoint, the more he will start to lose his memories of his reality, and he'll forever be in Flashpoint. So he has to team up with Thomas Wayne's Batman, and he has to team up with Cyborg to try and stop Zoom. And at the same time, they gotta stop Zoom so Flash can go back in time. They also gotta stop this war that could potentially end them all. So yeah, again, a lot of things are going on in this movie, and the movie does a fairly good job at juggling out everything. I like the characters in this movie. Cary Elwes voices Aquaman. I think he does a fantastic job with it. Kevin McKidd voices Thomas Wayne's Batman, and I just like the portrayal of Thomas Wayne's Batman. I like how there's a distinction between Bruce's Batman and Thomas's Batman. Thomas's Batman is an alcoholic. He owns casinos, and he carries 2 guns, and if you don't give him what he wants, he'll shoot you or kill you. I like it. I love it. I like how Cyborg is an instrument of the government, but at the same time, he also, wants to form a resistance to try and save the world. Like I said, I think the rivalry between Aquaman and Wonder Woman is actually pretty cool. I like how Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and this is all told in the flashback that Flash has when the memories of this new timeline start to infect his brain, so he gets a gist of the history. I like the rivalry between Aquaman and Wonder Woman. They have a really bloody fight at the end of this movie. The end of this movie has a massive fight where almost everyone dies, and then Aquaman at the last moment has to use Captain Atom as his nuclear deterrent to try and wipe everyone out. So yeah, I like all that stuff. Is great. Like I said, all the DC characters in this movie too. Like I said, Superman is an instrument of destruction, so pretty much Flash, Batman, and Cyborg have got to get him out of government captivity and bring him into the real world, which they eventually do. And just seeing this emaciated Superman, just seeing him the way he looks, he looks like a Holocaust survivor. It's just freaky. And seeing how, since he doesn't know his powers and doesn't know what he is, seeing him evaporate people is just really jarring, but really cool at the same time. This is like I said, this is a very violent movie, especially when you see some of the action scenes. We get a scene with Deathstroke and Lex Luthor who are viciously killed by Ocean Master. And if I do have a big criticism, Deathstroke and Lex Luthor, what am I saying Luger for? Deathstroke and Lex Luthor should have been on Batman's little Suicide Squad. I kind of like how they reference Suicide Squad in this movie. Pretty much Batman, the Flash, and Cyborg, they're pretty much all like a hero version of the Suicide Squad. They should have been on that team, since they were treading on Aquaman's waters and they were in danger, and Aquaman of course kills them all. I would have had Stroke and Luthor survive that and join up with Batman, instead of having these nobody characters like Estrogen the Demon and Grifter, who do nothing for me. They're not major characters. I mean, Etrigan, maybe. He was in a couple of episodes of the old Justice League show. He's more of a recognizable name to DC Comic fandoms in the animated cartoons. But I would prefer more of the heavy hitters. You know, it's always cool when we see alternate versions of the villains join up with the heroes to take on a bigger threat. And I think the movie missed the opportunity to do something like that. So that's a flaw for me, because I would have liked to have seen that. Plus, to me, you have Ron Perlman voicing Deathstroke, and to me, he's overall wasted because he's not in the final outing of the movie. And I've always liked Perlman as a voice of Deathstroke. I think Perlman just gives Deathstroke some personality with his voice. You have Stephen Blum, who's voicing Lex, and I think Blum's an underrated voice actor. I think he's actually pretty good. I know people are always hot and cold to him, but he doesn't bother me at all as a voice actor, and I actually like him as a voice of Lex. That's another thing I like about this movie. The voice acting in this movie is all really, really great. You know, we have Kevin Conroy, who comes back as Batman. We see him in the prologue, we see him in the epilogue, and as always, Conroy's great, but he's not in the movie the whole time. You know, Justin Chambers voices the Flash throughout, and I think Justin Chambers as the Flash does a great job as in the voice department. Like I mentioned before, I think Cary Elwes does a great job as Aquaman. C. Thomas Howell voices Professor Zoom, and I like how Howell just makes Zoom sound so intimidating. He has this very intimidating, sly, slimy, sneaky voice he gives to Zoom, and it fits the character perfectly. Really like what C. Thomas Howell brought to the table as Professor Zoom. Really, really like it a lot. I actually would not. If I had my choice, I wouldn't mind seeing C. Thomas Howell play Zoom in a live-action movie. I think he can pull it off perfectly, actually. Michael B. Jordan versus Cyborg, and I think Michael B. Jordan as Cyborg is great. To tell you the truth, I think Michael B. Jordan should have been Cyborg from the start instead of this Ray Fisher guy, because I like what Michael B. Jordan brought to the table as Cyborg. You know, he has the youthful voice. He gave him an energy, and Jordan Cyborg is like a natural fit to me. And I also think Vanessa Marshall does a pretty good job at voicing Wonder Woman as well. So the voice cast all around, everyone does a great job. The animation looks good. Like I said, there were a couple of things I would have changed, I would have fixed in this movie. I would have had Deathstroke and Lex join Batman's Little Rebellion. Also, I would have liked to have seen a flashback scene of Batman and Martha as the Joker just having some interaction with one another. I wanted to see, you know, that civil war between husband and wife, you know, Thomas Wayne's Batman versus Martha Wayne Joker. This movie did not give me that scene, and I'm very, 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 very bummed out about that. I would definitely put that in, and I would have definitely put Deathstroke and Lex Luthor in Batman's Rebellion. I would have taken out Grifter, and I would have taken out this other guy called Canterbury Cricket. Again, these are two useless characters who are in the movie, if you blink and you miss it. Like I said, this movie is also really, really violent. It's really amazing how this movie got a PG-13. This movie has a lot of bloodshed. Again, the Deathstroke and Lex Luthor, them getting killed, is very graphic, and that whole last half of the movie is also extremely graphic. Aquaman stabs Cyborgs in the heart. Aquaman loses his arm. Batman shoots Zoom right in the head, pretty much killing him. Yeah, this movie has a lot of bloody violence, but I love it for it. So yeah, even though those two things I mentioned, you know, the rest of this movie makes up for those two little problems I have with this thing. So like everything else in the movie is great. Like I said, those two little problems I have, just fix those. This thing could have been perfect for me. However, this movie does one thing that I absolutely love, and as a die-hard Batman fan, really appreciate. So after The Flash fixes the timeline and restores everything back to normal, he gives Batman a letter from his father, Thomas Wayne. And this is one of those very few times where Bruce Wayne, the man, breaks down and has an emotional moment. He reads the letter his father gives him, and he starts to cry. It's one of the most human, satisfying things you can see as a Batman fan. Batman, who is always stoic, always keeps his cool. But, you know, he's reading a letter from his father, who has been dead for years. This is like the first time he's had a chance to read something from his dad. It will hit you on an emotional mark as a Batman fan, and I love this movie for bringing that to Batman fans like myself. It's a very satisfying thing. So, yes, overall, of course, I love Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. I think this is a great movie. It gets a solid 9 out of 10. Put Lex and Deathstroke on Batman's team. Give me more. Give me some stuff with Thomas Wayne's Batman and Martha Wayne's Joker, and this thing could have been a perfect 10. But I'm going to give it a 9. So anyway, if you've seen Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, let me know in the comment sections below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Subscribe to the channel and like this video, and I'll check you back next time for more.